Welcome to learning how to use the Dimes Quilt Embellisher software to custom quilt the front of a bag. First thing that we need to do is bring in our picture of our bag. Along the left-hand side of the screen, you have your backdrop tool. The drop arrow here will allow you to select that item, and that pops up your tool for looking on your computer. Here is the picture that I took, and I click open. Mine happens to be on its side because of the size of the image, so I can rotate that. And once I have that, I can then tell it how big that image is. I'm going to quickly zoom that back out so you guys can see the whole image. And before you start, you're going to want to make sure you know how big the width of that is. So actually take a true measurement of your bag or whatever it is that you are going to do. And then again, on that drop down, we need to define the scale. So we need to have a true size image here so that whatever we design is going to fit into the appropriate areas. So we click Define Scale, and then we drag from one stitch line to the other stitch line. And when you let go, it is going to pop up this box. So I measured that, and it is a 7.5 inch width for this particular project. So again, make sure that you actually do a true measurement so that you can fill in that box correctly. When I click OK, it's going to appropriately judge that. So I'm going to zoom that in again, and now you can see up here where I am at, and that is approximately 3.5 over here and a little over 3.5 over here, which if you add those all together, of course, by the time you get that measurement, you are at 7.5. So I have a single color here. I'm going to use thread colors as my decorative pieces. I have triangles, I have a square, and then I have the bars that are going in between each different piece. So what I want to do is select each of those areas and then fill it with some in whatever decoration it is that we would like. So the first thing that I need to do is select each of those areas. I can choose how I am doing that. If I want each of these bars to be a separate area, I can draw those as separate. If I want this whole area here to be one area, then I would draw that as one area and close that in as a single piece. So you have multiple ways that you can do it. It's literally up to you how you would like to decorate that. You also could just simply lay in a actual embroidery design. So we have a few different ways that we can do that. Up here at the top of the screen, we have our artwork tool. When we click that drop down, the very top piece is a pen, and it basically lets us choose which areas that we're going to. You also have built-in shapes. So if you have specific shapes that are theirs, for instance, a rectangle or a square, you could choose that and drag and drop to specifically fit into that area. So there's my square. And if you see over here, I now have a square that's already in that area. So I don't have to draw all four corners of a square. I can choose the square option from that area. I also have triangles as an option. So I have different shapes that I can select from there. If I have odd shapes that are not a specific known shape per se, I can choose the pen and simply draw from there. I'm going to zoom in so I can see very, very clearly where I'm going. And I can select my points, and you can see it's putting a small square in each of those areas. when I come back to my original, I am going to right click instead of left click, and it will close that box. Now I am going to go ahead and change my thread color so that I am in a different piece than I was with that square. And I'm going to do that by clicking on another color and selecting there. So let's go over here. We're going to select that piece and we're going to change by right clicking the pink. So now those are in their own separate piece. So I'm in that color. I'm going to come back up, select my pen, and I'm going to go to the next area. Again, I could make these all together if I chose to, and I'm going to right click to close. Not sure if you can see, but that is pink and it's showing up underneath my pink area over here. All right, so each of those areas are specific there. So I'm going to come up one more time and select my next one. So right click, I can right click and then left click to close. So when I have all of those pieces, I can see that pink line there. Now, just to show you how you can then fill in that area, I'm going to select that last piece, and you can see that I have now got those selection boxes all the way around. When I have a piece of artwork selected, I have all of these pieces over here lit up. Now, I personally own multiple dime quilting and embroidery software tools. So I have multiple tools down the right-hand side, and if I click on my shopping cart, it shows me that I have check marks in all of these different pieces. If I want to select a different set of tools to show across the top, or if your screen does not look like my screen, it's because I have the Quilt Embellisher set as my default. So if you do not see those tools, please click on your shopping cart. And of course, that is if you own this software. And then click on the three dots. Right click. When we click on those three dots, I apologize, you would get the option to see the manual or the tutorial. I already have that selected as my default, so I'm just going to show you on the My Block Piecer. When I click on that, it says make default. And if I click on that, my tools across the top will change. I already have my Quilt Embellisher selected as my default, which is why I have those tools across the top. So if you do not see this bar of tools, please go to your shopping cart, to My Quilt Embellisher, click on the three dot box, and then click on My Default. All right, so hopefully we now all have those same boxes across the top of the screen. And let's just talk about what those are. So these guys here are all different type of fill stitches that you can put inside of an area. The first one is going to be a texture. It's got motifs that you can choose. If I choose any motif and then select OK in the bottom right-hand corner, it will fill that in. I'm going to go ahead and choose that to be a darker color. And then right click on that. So hopefully you guys can see that a little bit. I'm going to click off of it so you can now see that it has selected that inside. Let's go ahead and select that complex fill. And you can see over in the fill box up here in all of my properties, I have the ability to adjust that. I can change that pattern length, which by either making it a larger number or smaller number will make that pattern size change inside of the area that I have selected. So it is currently listed at 10. If I make it at 5, it will make it smaller when I click apply. And again, I'm going to click off so you can see it's a much tighter fill. When I select it again, I'm going to go ahead and make it larger this time. It was at 10 originally. This is currently at 5. I'm now going to show you 20. And you can see how much larger that is. So it's literally that easy to apply a fill to an area that you have chosen by selecting the artwork tool and literally clicking around and creating a specified area. So let's go back into that artwork area. We're going to select that same one that we had, and now we're going to select the next one. So that first one was that texture. The next one is a stippling option. So this is literally just your basic stippling. I'm going to go ahead and click off. You can see that it has filled that with a stipple. When I have that selected, I have, again, some different options here. I do have stippling patterns that I can change that to. So you see, I even in the basic stippling still have some playing tools available to me. Once I exit out of there, I can change many different things. So let's go ahead and reselect that. And that was that stippling tool. Once I come to the next one, this is called advanced stippling. This is going to be a little bit more similar to that first texture tool, but they're different types of designs that you have chosen for you that you can pick from. I really like this apple core one. When we select that, it gives us these kind of little circles that are on an angle, which literally look like an apple core there in the center. So I really, really like that little guy there. And of course, when we have it selected, we can change the size of that as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and type 15, and you can see that that has made those larger. So I can continue to go through all of these different pieces until I find what it is that I want that to look like. I can change the color of the thread, and I can change the type of design that I have. We have an echo quilting that is only available in certain types, and then I have the contour. Contour is going to take that shape and basically do an echo into that type of a shape. It's going to contour to the size and shape that I have. So again, I'm going to click off, and you can see that that has gone around and around my size and shape that I have there. When I collect and select that again, I can change the stitch length and the density. So I can say how tight I want that to be, and I can apply, and you can see that that will adjust and change each time I make an adjustment here. So if I change that to a 4 instead of a 3, they're more spread out. So I can personalize all of these different tools. So again, we artwork, we can use the pen. We can select each different area that we are choosing. So you just click 4 corners or more. If there's more options, right click to close that shape. And once you have that selected, you are going to choose one of those pieces. The last thing is a shape echo. You're going to choose whichever shape it is you want that to be in. And then you're going to select OK, and it will choose that shape in the center and then continue to fill out into the outside edges of that shape. I'm going to change that color so you guys can see that a little bit better. And there it is. There's that center shape, and then it continues to ripple out from there, continuously filling out to the edges of the shape that you have denoted. Very, very cool. So those are those fill options that you have there. So we've covered all of those really cool fills, but we have some really cool buttons over here as well. So let's talk about these for a minute. This first one here is the embellishments. And in here we have some basically pre-done, ready-to-go stitches in all different types and shapes and sizes for you. When you click on any of these, you're going to get some pop-ups on the right side over here, and they will coincide, of course, with whatever they're called over here. So we have some Celtic, we have some more elegant pieces. Depending upon what it is that you're looking for, you can, of course, get that perfect something. So there are tons of options in here, and we have different shapes and sizes. We've got squares, we've got triangles, we've got rectangles, all different types of things. So this one actually has a really nice triangle and square. So let's give this a go to fill in with what we've got here in the front of this bag. So I've got the square there selected, and I click OK, and it shows right up on my screen. I can zoom in and get a little bit closer so it's easier to make sure that I've got everything in my view. And then I can take those handles in the corner and make that fit as easy as I possibly can. And I'm a little bit wider than I am tall, so I can just stretch that out just a little bit. Very, very simple. I have a pre-done design and it fits perfectly in that shape that I have inside of my design pattern that I've got in that bag front. So I can go right back where I was before and grab hold of that triangle. That's going to come in here. It's going to be a little bit big. Like we said before, we're going to need to shrink that down. Once we have that in place, we can make that fit where we need it to go. It's like I need to angle that just a hair, fit inside of there. Now we do certainly have some standard editing tools, just like we would anywhere else. We can go ahead and copy and paste that. So we can put that same little guy in all of these different pieces without having to do too much work at all. So very, very simple to easily decorate all of these nice triangles. We can just keep pasting and placing. So assuming that your bag didn't stretch or move, everything should lay out the same. But if you have a piece that needs to be rotated or one's slightly bigger than the other, you of course can make that adjustment. When you save your design, it is going to save it in the embroidery format that you need for your machine. So when you come up here, it's going to be File and Save As. You certainly can go through the Click to Stitch, which is one of Dime's really great pieces they have, and it will make corrections for you as you go. I generally will go through the Save As and do out my test stitch through there, especially if I'm using built-in designs, because those are not things that I am personally creating. So when I click Save As, I have that drop down and I can choose from any format that I need. So I can literally, if I'm in my brother machine, which is what I have at home, I save it in the PES. If I'm creating it for someone else, I certainly can go ahead and save it in whatever it is that they need. So super easy to manipulate. I have rotating, I have sizing, and I have so many really great embellishments to choose from in that embellishment piece. I can certainly add text in. So if you wanted to put someone's name on their bag, maybe a monogram over even on top of that, I could grab that text tool, click on screen, and let me scroll down just a little bit. I can put a first name initial, a last name initial, whatever it is that you are looking for. We've got all of our built-in fonts, which are going to be these guys here, which as you can see, there are many. Or we can hit the TT box, which is going to be your true type fonts. So those are going to be all of the fonts that you have available in your Windows font file. So I happen to have, just a few available on mine. I might have what one might call a font fetish. I have very, very large font files in my computers. So once you choose a font, that one has a whole lot of scrolls going on. So let's grab something that's a little less busy. I just grabbed one of the first ones that popped up, but let's get something that's a little scripty. Let's try that one. Little scripty. Once you adjust it, you are all set there. I am going to hit my select key over here on the left, and then I am going to resize. And that way I can put that right in there. When I am in text mode, I don't have sizing keys. It would stretch it out and make things a little bit different. So you do, of course, have the ability to make something wider, not just taller. And so if you wanted it to fit in there, I could stitch that right over top of the embroidery design. I could go ahead, of course, and change all of my thread colors. So when we started this video, we talked about having the thread be the pop of color. So if I had all of these thread colors and I wanted those to really pop off, I would want them all to be probably the same color, and maybe the bar quilting to be that different color. So you've got all of these colors to choose from if what pops up across the bottom doesn't float your boat. But of course, you know that your embroidery machine is colorblind. So unless you're stitching with a multi-needle that's going to be looking for a specific color, it doesn't really matter what color you choose as long as you are creating the thread stop color that you need. So you can certainly change the colors there, or you can right click and just change the colors on screen. So we can see all of those nice bright green colors. And then I can take that letter and I could change that to be a bright color as well. So you can see how much that would pop just from changing those colors. And we can see how that's going to look by very simply just zooming out and see how that does. So I no longer have the fill stitches in here, but we certainly could add those back in really fast if we wanted to. So in the previous section, we were talking about filling each of those bars individually. If you wanted to, I know we talked about it, but I didn't actually show, you could take and literally trace that whole section to be a fill in one. So that would be taking that pen and literally tracing and starting in one point, taking the entire box all the way down, and then having whatever fill that you do complete through the entire piece instead of each bar separately. So especially if you were doing something like an echo, that's really going to make a difference. So if we select that, and we did select that echo, it's going to really make a difference on what that looks like, because it is going, let's change that color so you guys can see that a little bit better. So you can see that really changes what that looks like based on what size that shape is, because it's not individual bars, it's the entire shape in full. So let's look at some of these other things that we've got available. So we can add borders. A border is very, very simple. If you wanted to, you could stretch that out. Some of them are going to look better stretched than others, but you do want to be a little bit careful when you do that, because some of these, like I said, are going to distort a little bit depending upon where you're putting them. So if we were to grab something and try to put that in one of the instances that we have here, it might not necessarily work, but maybe if we wanted to have something around our monogram in the bottom right hand corner, we could maybe grab that. We could take this stitch here, get rid of that, and then we could take our border, shrink that down to fit, put that around, and it would certainly give that a little bit different look. So I know I'm not fitting exactly in place, but I was just trying to kind of get there there we go. So I, of course, would want to stitch my letter last, so we can move that down in the group, and then the letter would stitch on top of that. So that would be a border and something that you can do all different sorts and times that would work. And then there is, of course, some different sorts of decor. These are kind of, I think they look more like a bunch of different scrolls. In the shapes that we have available to us here, I don't think that they work super well. But however, we could maybe put a little flourish above the entire bag underneath the zipper. So if we wanted to pick something out, we could certainly take something simplistic. I don't think that we would want anything too overwhelming. But let's see, let's maybe just take this little guy right here. When we click OK, it is going to pop up on screen. We can scroll up here. And when we have that, you can then stretch out to fit that shape. And of course, I'm slightly too wide, so we would need to shrink that a little bit. So you have lots of built-in designs, as well as having the ability to draw and create your own. So you do have the ability to draw a pen and create stitches from that as well, but you can have those base shapes be your guide. So I hope that you have enjoyed learning how you can use this wonderful software to create different types of fill and decorative stitches, so that you can take any design, take that picture right out of the hoop, before you've removed it, and take that design to a whole new level by adding in decorative stitches, decorative quilting, and literally making that design yours. So once we have everything exactly the way we want it, we would just simply click File, Save As, and put that to our USB. And then we could simply load that in. And before we put the back on to this, we could literally stop that design right in the middle, load the new design, and then stitch the decorative stitching, and then go back to the design where we stopped and finish the bag out by putting the back on, the back on the straps in if there were, or whatever the design happens to be. So lots of fun things that you can do with this great software, and certainly lots of options available to you. I hope you enjoyed learning how to stitch with me. If you have any questions, you can certainly contact us here at the store with emails at stitching@labousewingcenter.com or the store phone 734-663-3033. Y'all have a great day.